Hear me?
We hear and see the Rav, and we're ready for the Shir. I'm revisiting this question of one action of multiple MELACHOS. I mentioned the Yerushalmi of Shabbos. We try to cover as many memory claims as we can from the Rav's writings.
Okay, so the way to start the Shir today might be different than what you did Hachana or what I wrote in my Sefer, but every time I learn a sugya, it's always new. And when I talk to young yeshiva boys, many times I tell them, and only in my profession do you get excited every day anew. I tell young aspiring yeshiva boys, I know some tour guides. So the tourists they carry around are excited to see the sights, but the guide says, I was here 100 times. I say the same speech exactly every day. I would much prefer sitting at home. But I have visited the sugya 100 times, but every time I visit it, I always see new light, new angles, new nekudas. So if you're looking for a job in which you're going to get excited every day, try to be a marbitz toiler. So anyway, so the question we are discussing today, when, how, and what circumstances could you be chayiv more than one chatas and one action? You did one thing. Could you be chayiv and more than one malacha? Let's start off with 3 sugyas in Shas that are not associated with Shabbos at all. Krisis Yud Gimel Amud Beis Mishnah. Yesh oichel achilo achas v'chayev oleo 4 chatois v'osham echad. So there's a case Chazal teach us in which a person eats 1 kazayis and he has to bring 5 korbanos, 4 chatos v'osham echad. How could that be? He ate 1 achila, 1 kazayis, and how would he be chayiv multiple chatois? So in Krisis Yud Gimel Amid Beis, the Gemara says, Tomisha ochal chaylev, noiser, min hamikdoshin, b'yom HaKippurim.
Rav Pesach, go to work to help the Rav out with the Marmakaimis. Please help us out with the Marmakaimis. Krisis stuff in Gimel. Yes?
Yud Gimel Beis in the Mishnah, the bottom of the page. He ate 1 kazayis and he needs to bring 5 korbanos. Bottom of the page. Here it is. Yesh oichel achila achas v'chayav oleo 4 chatois v'osham echad. Tomesh ochel chaylev. Chaylev number 1. Noiser number 2. Min hamikdoshin. So Tomesh ochel kodesh number 3. Yom Kippurim is number 4. Reb Meir says number 5. Imoy Shabbos v'yitzir b'piv. So you eat 1 kazayis and you could have many averis. Makes Chaf Aleph Amud Beis. Mesechet Makes Chaf Aleph Amud Beis. Yesh chodesh telem echad v'chayev oleo mishum shmoino laven. So in Krisis we had 5, 4 chatas and 1 osham, because Moel Be'egdish needs to bring a osham. In Makes Chaf Aleph Amud Beis we have 8. Top of the Yomid, top of the page. Yesh chodesh telem echad. He does charisha v'chayav olav mishum shmoino laven. Chodesh b'shor v'chamor. That's kila ayim. V'hen migdoshim. So he's a moyel b'hegdish. And he's chodesh kilayim b'kerem. And it's a Shemitah year. And it's Yom Tov. V'koyin v'nozir v'beis ha'kvaris v'beis ha'toma. Oh. So 1 charisha, shmoino laven. Sugya number 3, brings us the Psachim Mem Zayin Amud Beis. Hamavashel Gidanoshe va'oichloi chayiv mishum shchamish olavim. And that's in Psachim Mem Zayin Amud Beis. So the Gemara brings all kind of combinations. Well, combinations that only coincidentally would come together. Yeah. So this sugya actually starts Mem Zayin Amud Aleph. Let's turn one page back, but most of the sugya is Amud Beis. Mem Zayin Amud Aleph. At the bottom of the page, we learn Amevashel Gid Hanosha. Just one moment. No, it's Amud Beis. Here we are. No, turn the page. Amud Beis. Okay, it's about 10 lines down. Hamavashel Gid Hanosha b'cholav b'yamte v'orichloi like a chumash. Like a mishum avashel gid b'yamtev. V'loike mishum oichel gid. V'loike mishum avashel basa b'cholav. V'loike mishum oichel basa b'cholav. Havora b'yamtev. So 3 malchus in are for the bishul and 2 times malchus for the achila. What is the common denominator of these 3 sugyas? Chazal just want to say, you did one act, but you violated multiple isurim. Do we find similar combinations on Shabbos? At least in 2 sugyas. Ayin Gimel Amud Beis Mesechet Shabbos. Hayman Bishoz Pisle Ledikle Va'ater Tamrei. Ayin Gimel Amud Beis. Hayman Bishoz Pisle Ledikle. He threw a rock up on a tree, and it was a palm tree. And a cluster of dates came crashing down. Chayiv Shtayim, Chayiv Mishum Koitzer. We need to scroll down a bit. Scroll down. I'm on the Shoda Pisele Dikla. Va'atar Tamra. Chayiv Mishum Koitzer. V'chayiv Mishum Mefarek. Where are we? Here we are. Omer of Papa. I'm on the shoulder Pisele Dikla. Va'ater Tamra. Chayiv Shtayim. Achas Mishum Toilesh v'achas Mishum Mefarek. Now it's a machlokes Rashi and Tosfos. What is this of Mefarek? And why is he Chayiv Mishum Mefarek? Let's have a look at the Tosfos. First at Rashi. Chayiv Mishum Toilesh Koitzer. Mefarek Torah Dadedash. Mefarek Tvoa Mishiboleo. Vegam Avze Mefarek Atamorim Min Amich Bedois. So there's a machlokes Rashi and Tosfos. Toilesh, because the entire cluster is a branch, and he ripped the branch off the tree. And then, when the dates break off from the cluster, that's a mefarek. That's Rashi's pshat. Tosfos achas mishum mefarek brings another pshat. Yesh al atmorim klipo elyoino v'kishu maka betmorim mefarek es a klipo min atmorim. It's like a shell that breaks off the date, and that is mishum mefarek. Ben kach u ben kach. He did one act. He threw a rock up to the tree, but he did 2 melachos. Chayiv Shtayim. We find a similar Gemara. Ayin Hey Amud Beis. Shoichet Mishum Mechayev. It's Ayin Hey Amud Aleph, bottom of the page, going up on Amud Beis. Shoichet mishum mayim mechayev. A person slaughters a cow. Rav and Shmuel. Shoichet mishum mayim mechayev. Bottom of the page, Amud Aleph, the last line. Machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Shoichet mishum mayim mechayev. Rav omer mishum tzaveya. Shmuel omer mishum netilas neshama. Mishum tzaveya ein mishum netilas neshama loi. Ema af mishum tzaveya. And the Gemara says, what is it tzaveya? Because the animal's neck, b'mukha mashchita, is painted red, the blood. V'nichalei. Ke'echad elitvas beis hashchita, ke'echad elech zayinish. People should see this is a freshly slaughtered animal, and therefore it's fresh meat. Chayev shtayim. So in these two Gemaras we see, the person did one thing, but it's chayev and two melachos. Netilas nishom etzaveya, toilesh, mefarek. So just like we have three different sugyas, makes, krisis, psochim, dealing with mevashel, choresh, oichel, one act, but you're chayev numerous, either makis or karbonis. Same we find two sugyas in Shabbos. And now we go back to the fine Gimel Amud Beis that we just had a few moments ago. In other Gemara, Hazoymer v'tzorech la'etzem chayev mishum shtayim. We need to scroll up a bit. Beginning at a page, Ein Gimel Amud Beis, Hazoymer v'tzorech la'etzem chayev shtayim. Achas mishum koitzer, v'achas mishum noiteya. Omer Rav Yosef Ayman dekotel as pasta chayev shtayim. Achas mishum koitzer, v'achas mishum noiteya. So when you cut off a branch, you chayev shtayim. Koitzer, one of the lamatas melachos, and noiteya. And why is that? Because when you cut off some branches, the others grow bigger. And that is Zoymer, which is a toilda of Zoreya. So, once again, we find he did one act. Zoymer lahatzmiach hagefen says Rashi v'tzorach leitzim lahasaka. Mishum de tzorach lem told the koitze de tzorach namelik tzoyer Rashi. No, down. Zoymer. La'atzmiach hagefen, v'tzorach la'etzem la'asaka. Mishum de tzorach lem avatolda de koitzer. Now, the Achronim wonder. Rav Kahana says, a zoymer is only chayev two because he is tzorach la'etzem. If he wouldn't have any intention to use the wood, he wouldn't be chayev shtayim. Rashi says, Zoymer lahatzmiach hagefen. Rashi seems to say that if he has no intention to enhance the growth of that tree, he wouldn't be chayev mishum noiteya. It's also mashmin Rambam. Perek Ches, halacha beis in Rambam. When the Rambam brings this halacha, Zoymer v'tzorach la'etzem, perek ches halacha beis, the Rambam seems to say, just like Rashi, if his only intention is tzorach la'etzem, he would not be chayev shtayim. It is only because he has a kavona kfulo u'mechuperes. He has an intention also to use the wood and also to enhance the growth of the bush, of the tree, of whatever it is. So the Rambam Perek Ches and Halacha Beis uses similar wording to what we find in Rashi. Hazoymer is the word in Kedei Sheyitzmach. Harei ze me'en zoreya. So the Rambam writes Kedei Sheyitzmach. And that is similar to what Rashi says. Why in this case does he need intention? Both to be chayev als koitzer and both to be chayev als zoreya. Why? So on the Achronim, there are different approaches. I just want to briefly mention two. I don't think it's very important to have these sources on the screen because they're not the fundamentals. Well, if we have them, ma'atoiv, but it's not essential. So the Eglei Tal, MELACHOS Zoreya Sivches, compares Zoyma v'tzorech le'etzim to Chak Toichos. In the beginning, okay, gewaldig. Zoyma v'tzorech le'etzim, v'chen ha'koitza l'shacha shiktzirose mitzamach l'soy megadlesoi, v'kol ki yoytze v'zeh b'yorocha shechozna v'gedeon, chayiv mishum koitza mishum neteah. Afelo eino mischaven lahatzmiach. Shalei bevadai yatzmiach. And in the Perush, in the Eglei Tal, he has a lengthy discussion, quoting Rashi, quoting the Rambam. But Rashi and the Rambam do indicate that it is only if he is mechaben lahatzmiach. So the Eglei Tal quotes Tosfos, Moyet cotton, beis omid beis. Afelo einu mischaven lahatzmiach hagefen kivin devadai mitzam chamach mesazimo chayev mishum noiteya. Ilav divrei Tosfos. Hoyisi oimo. Lefi ma shekosav aran sof perek aboyne. B'shem HaRashba. Chok toiches lepota b'Shabbos. So, if a person carves out letters, two ways to do it. You could cut away the wood around the letter, and then the letters stand out. The Ran says that is somehow similar to a groma. You do not do the letters. You just carved out the wood around the letters, and the letters stand out. You didn't press them out. The Ran says, Chayev mishum MELACHOS machsheves aseret Torah. I think one of the shurim I gave long ago, I remember speaking about the sugya in one of the Yarchei Kalas in Yerushalayim of the Aguda, but I think almost 2 years ago, one of the first shurim was about grama in Shabbos, and we discussed the Machlokes and Rashba. So the Eglei Tal wants to compare Zoymer to Chak Toichos. And his fundamental approach is, it's like a grama. You know, I'm not planting seeds. I'm just cutting away branches, and that would cause the bush or the tree to grow new branches, and that is Hazoyma, that is MELACHOS Asmira. So it is somewhat similar to Chak Toichos that is only chayiv because Nases machshavtoi MELACHOS machsheves aseret Torah. And that is obviously a good pshat in the Rambam and in Rashi. But I disagree with the Eglei Tal because the fundamental tzura of Kosev is you write letters. And therefore, when you produce letters in an indirect fashion, that is like a grama. And therefore, without intention, you're not chayiv. MELACHOS Zoreya is atzmuche ilna. One could never directly cause tzmicha. Tzmicha is always a grama. I think we discussed this also in a previous year. There are two melachos in which all you could do is cause a process, a natural process, which is not in your power. You could just plant a seed, you could water a bush, you could cut away branches. In every form of Zoreya, it is a natural process. All you could do is set a process into motion. And therefore, there's no difference between planting a seed, cutting away branches, watering a plant. They are all enabling nature to do all the rest. And therefore, it is different than writing. The basic form of writing is taking an instrument and producing letters directly. And that is the difference between Chok Toiches and Chok Yerechos. So Chok Toiches, you're not touching the letter. You're just playing around with what is around the letter. That is like a grama, and therefore, in order to be chayiv, you need kavona, meleches machsheves. It has nothing to do with zoymer v'tzorach le'etzim. And that is why I also have difficulty with the Rosh Yosef. The Prima Godem has an amazing sefer on Masechet Shabbos called the Rosh Yosef. And the Rosh Yosef, the Prima Godem, Shabbos Ein Gimel Amid Beis, just like the Maharal and Gur Aryeh, they say, what if it's a Dov Hashem Eschavin? Why would it be chayiv? Only because it's a psik reisha. Psik reisha la'achar zman is not chayiv unless he has kavanah. Psik reisha la'achar zman. What does that mean? Because the growth is li'achar zman. And therefore it's a psik reisha la'achar zman isn't chayiv unless he has kavanah. But once again, I don't understand. What does it have to do with la'achar zman? Yes, the process of growth will be la'achar zman, but the melacha is right here and now. The melacha is here and now. It is not la'achar zman. There are two seifim in Shin Lamed Vav. Shin Lamed Vav Siv Gimel. Ha'oichla beginners asirem little yedeim alu asavim. Shemash kemoisam. Shin Lamed Vav Siv Gimel. Mutar leilach al gabi asavim bein lachem bein yeveshim kivin sheinem eschaven. Avalu oichlem beginners asurem little yedeim alu asavim. Shemash kemoisam v'yachar pi sheinem echavim psik reishi. It's a psik reisha la'achar zman, and he has no intention of watering the grass. His sole intention is to washing his hands. He wants to eat bread, so he's washing his hands. The Maharal, based on his Chiddush, disagrees with the Shulchan Aruch. Okay, the Maharal is entitled to disagree with the Shulchan Aruch. But we learn the Shulchan Aruch, and this halacha comes from the Rishonim. It's not a hamtzah of the Shulchan Aruch. So what is the difference between a person spilling water on grass or a person cutting away a branch? So why in this Sif in Shulchan Aruch is chayav avrat bisha eino mischaven because it's a psik reisha? Why would our case be different? Hazoymer v'tzorach la'etzim. So I think the more accepted interpretation is the Kiryas Sefer, the Mabit, in his Sefer al Rambam, Kiryas Sefer Perek Ches. The Mabit says, when a person does two melachos in one act, he would not be chayav unless he has intention for both of them. And that is unique about Zoymer v'tzorach la'etzim. He is not chayev mishum koitzer only if he's tzorach la'etzim, and Rashi and the Rambam say he also needs intention to be matzmiach. So when you perform two melachos in the same act, you will not be chayev shnayim unless you have intention for both of them. That's a chiddush of the Kiryat Sefer, the Mabit. We find the same chiddush in Chidushe Haran, Shabbos Kuv Gimel Amud Aleph, not the Ran on the Rif, but rather Chidushe Haran. Same Mechaber, Rabbeinu Nisim ben Rabbi Reuven. So the Ran on the Rif is more halacha oriented. It was written on the Rif as a posek. Chidush Haran is more chidushim. And in Kuf Gimel Amud Aleph, we find a similar sugya to Zoyme V'Tzorech La'etzim. But in that case, we're dealing with Chayresh. He is cleaning away the brush from a field because he wants to prepare that field for planting vegetables, trees, whatever it is. So he's just clearing away the weeds, the thorns, Chayv Shtayim, Koitze, and Chodesh, because preparing a field for Zriya is a tolda of Chodesh. And the Ran says, only if he has intention, if he just wants to clear away the brush because he wants to pay ball, he won't be Chayav al Chodesh. Chodesh is only because he has intention to prepare the field for agricultural use, for planting. And the Ran says the same idea as the Kiryas Sefer. He won't be Chayav Shtayim only if he has intention for the essence of the Malach. So now I have a question. Before I got into Zoyme V'Tzorech La'etzim, I brought two different sugyas, in which one act, you're chayiv two malachos. Throwing a rock onto a tree, chayiv mishum koitze mishum afarek, shoichet, chayiv netilas neshama, and soiveya. In these two sugyas, there is no stipulation that he needs to have kavana on both. Maybe yes. Do you remember the Gemara says, why is he chayav mishum tzaveya? Because he wants the animal's neck to be freshly red, fresh blood. The Beis Yitzchak says pshat in that Gemara according to the Kiryas Sefer. So the Beis Yitzchak was a later Achron, Rabbi Yitzchak Shmelkes. He was the Rav in Lemberg, one of the greatest Gedolim in Galicia. And he doesn't quote the Kiryat Sefer nor the Droshas, the Chidush Aran. And he says what he says on his own. Yes, so could we have the Chidush Aran? Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph. Kuf Gimel Amud Aleph. Not Ayin Gimel, but Kuf Gimel Amud Aleph.
That window closed. I'm sorry, Rebbe. I'm going to try to get it back up.
Okay. So we have four sources. Then in one act, you chayiv two malachos. Two sources are in Gimel Amud Beis. Haim and the Shoda Pisar Dikla, Koitzer and Mefarek, Zoyme V'Tzorech La'etzim, Koitzer and Zoreya, Ayin Hey, Shoichet, Netilas Nishomet Zoveya, Kuv Gimel Amud Aleph. So if we have Kuv Gimel Amud Aleph, then, so before we have the Droshas Aran, let me just learn with you or quote with you the Gemara, Kuv Gimel Amud Aleph. Hamalaket Eitzim. Im letaken koshu, im lehese kedei amalaket asovim. So, the Gemara says, Psik Reisha, so hamalaket atoiles ulshin, v'hamezaret zrodim, Im liachile kigroigeres, im liapis es a karka kol shehu. So the Gemara deals with a person cutting the weeds off his land. Im liapis es a karka kol shehu. So we have four sugyas. Kuv Gimel Amud Aleph. Here we are. Oh, okay. So you once again saw my shortcomings. Not always before I give a shir do I have time to check all the sources. And obviously the Chidush Haran is not Tav Kuv Gimel Amud Aleph. I need to check in Minchas Osher. So I will get up from my seat.
No, Rav does not have to matriach. I'm going to find this exact source for you in a second. I have the Minchas here. Give me a second, and I will find the Ran. The two Simanim here are very long. As far as Ran.
So maybe it is in the.
Here it is. 1 second. We're going to get it in a second. Kuf Gimel Amud Aleph. Likate Atzim Ba'ara de Chavre. Here, the Lamed Ba'ara de Chavre.
No, but I don't see it here. He just differentiates between Nichale and Lo Nichale. Maybe we should check.
It's not here.
I don't see it. Let's scroll down. I don't see it.
The whole shikul Torah here b'shem the ra'ah, right? Yipuya karka and.
Okay, here it is. No, I don't see it.
Gaston, what's the words? I'll do a search on the words in the cipher and we'll find it.
Words, we don't have a quote here.
I don't think I.
Do a search on Melacha Nasis Mimela. HaMelacha Nasis Mimela.
Well, I'm confident that it's somewhere.
Then he talks about Hadash Hanava Merubin. It's a very long shtickle rod here, so it has to be very visible. There's a very long arichas here on the rod in Samach Aleph.
Where is it?
It could be this one.
Yeah, probably.
Go back to the Sukhnaisa Nazira. The one you have there.
Okay, I think I got it. Let's stand. Okay, here we are.
It is Taka here, yeah. So just for future references for Weiss, those who would like to look it up, if you shrink it a little bit, Pesach, so we can give the Eilim the exact daf reference, and I can get out a run, and we can see it there. Shrink it a little bit so we can see. It is on Kuf Yud Aleph on the sugya of Misachreis and the Zaisa. The shmata that you stuck into the barrel. Okay.
Okay, so I need to just change that maramokim, but I am happy that, that obviously.
He brings the Gemara. See, he brings the Gemara about 10 lines down. Void heavy raya pergabayna telish ulshud. That's in Kuf Gimel. Make it yellow there, Pesach. Void heavy raya.
I can't yellow from here, but I could try to do something else.
Okay, fine. It doesn't matter.
Let me just explain to it. I think it's about to waste too much time to just see the source. So the Ram brings the Aruch Psikreisha de L'Nichalei Mutar, and the Ram offers a different interpretation why the Gemara needs Nichalei, because in that very same act he is Chayiv Shtayim. And that is why we need Nichalei. If it wouldn't be Chayiv Mishum Koitzer, Psekreisha would be chayev afal gav deloni. And that is how the Ran wants to reject the raya of the Aruch. The Aruch wants to prove from this Gemara Daf Kuf Gimel that psekreisha deloni chalei is mutar. The Ran says no. The reason we need nichalei by toilish ulshin because he has chayev mishim koitzer, and you won't be chayev on two melachos unless you have nichusa. So what I mean to summarize is this. We have 4 sources in which one act, you do 2 melachos. Zoyme b'tzorech le'etzim, Rashi says, mechaven lahatzmiach. Toilish ulshin, similar. The Ran says, only because of nichalei. Haiman the Pisal Dikla, we do not find that it needs to be nichalei. Shoichet, the Gemara does say nichalei. I think there's a difference between when a person does an act and the act has 2 different results. Chayev Shtayim. So on all 4 sources we just quoted, it is one act, but the act brings forth 2 different results. He has wood that he could use to stoke a fire. He has fruit he could eat, and he also enhanced the growth. On one hand, he slaughtered an animal, shchitik shera. On the other hand, he painted Mukha Mashchita red, and that is to his benefit. He threw a rock up on the tree. He has a cluster of dates in his hand, and he also broke open the dates. One act, 2 results, Chayiv Shtayim. And now we go all the way back to Ayin Gimel Omid Beis. Ayin Gimel Omid Beis, Sugya number 3, on that same daf. It's the 3rd sugya we're dealing with. Ayin Gimel Amid Beis. Hadash hamenapetz v'hamenapet. Bottom of the page. Here we are. Mamish the bottom of the page. Tona. Hadash hamenapetz v'hamenapet. Kulam malacha achas. Which malacha? Let's have a look at Rashi. We scroll down, Rashi at the bottom of the page. Hamenapetz pishtan, hamenapetz tzemer gefen, kederech ha'umnim, v'tzemer gefen gedulei karka, lahoche kore niput dilei tolde de dash. שמפרק גרעינים ממנו, ולא יקורא ליטולדס מנפץ דצמר. So dash is tvua. Niputz is wool, tzemer. Niput is cotton. Cotton is called tzemer gefen. Rashi explains, niput is a tolada of dash, not a tolada of niputz. And why? Because cotton and wheat are both gedulei karka. And that is why niput tzemer gefen is a tolda of dash and not a tolda of menapetz. Rashi says why? Because tzemer gefen is gedulei karka. And I have a big kasha. Some halachas apply only to gedulei karka. Ein disha elo begedulei karka. But there is no melacha that does not apply to gedulei karka. There's no such a thing. There is no melacha that is exclusive, excluding gedulei karka. There are melachas that are only gedulei karka, and that is dash. So menapet, what does Rashi say? It can't be a tolda of niputs because tzemer is not gedulei karka. Tzemer gefen is. So what? Why is that a reason that niput cannot be a tolda of niputs? Rambam Perik Tes Halacha Beis. Rambam Perik Tes Halacha Beis. No, not Halacha Beis, Halacha Yud Beis, I apologize. Yud Beis. Hamenapetz es hatzemer, o es hapishtan, o es hashoni v'kiyoytze behem chayev. So the Rambam brings together Hamenapetz es hatzemer, o es hapishtan, o es hashoni, ukiyoytze behem chayev. Hamenapetz es hagidem ad shiyasu ketzemer kedelitva, says Reiza told us menapetz v'chayev. Chaye Yodom says, according to the Rambam, Chayev Shtayim, Mishum Dash, Umishum Menapetz es hatzemer. So the Chaye Yodom says, according to the Rambam, Chayev Shtayim. And he brings an example from the Rambam, from the Maggid Mishnah Perek Tes Halacha Yud Daled. Perek Tes Halacha Yud Daled, Rambam, Maggid Mishnah says, Hu oise ein hatzeva, chayiv shtayim. Perek Tes Halacha Yud Daled. What we have on our screen is Halacha Tes Vav, Halacha Yud Daled. Hu oise ein hatzeva. HaRav told us, Soveya v'chayev. Maggid Mishnah on the spot. Neresh Rabbeinu Mefarish, Mantan Nasias Mayim Lidyozi Shrios and Chaim Mishum Saveya. So the Maggid Mishnah says, actually, Chaim Mishum Evashal and Mishum Tzoveya. So according to the Maggid Mishnah, the Rambam Chayev Shtayim. Enochonam v'chayev shtayim mevit bishul and tzorveya. So the Chaye Yodom says, "Hu adim hamenapes tzemer gefen is a tolda of menapetz and a tolda of dash." And I think no. Hu oise ein atzeva chayev shtayim because bishul samamonim. He is mavashal, the roots from which one derives dye. And he's painting the water. He's achieving tzeva. One act, two results. Just like the four previous sources. But when you have one act and one result, you could never be chayev shtayim. There is no such a thing. And that is an argument they have with some of the great achrayim. We had four sources, one act, two MELACHOS. Because in all these four sources, one act, but two distinct and different results. The same, the Maggid Mishnah. He's cooking herbs and roots to make paint, to make dye. Yes, two results. You cook the roots, that's mevashel. The water, which is transparent, became dye, that's soiveya. But menapet tzemer gefen is one result, cannot be chayev shtayim. And this is a principle which I shared with you last week, and it is the climax of today's shiur. when you do something which you could be medama to one of two melachos, you need to decide la'eze mishtei melachos doimet fei. It cannot be two. One result is one melacha. And if it is similar to more than one melacha, Chachomim need to decide lema doime tfei. To which of the two is it more similar? And that's my pshat in Rashi. Menapet tzemer gefen. We could connect it to niputz tzemer or to dash tvuo. Rashi says it's gedule karka. And therefore, it is more reasonable to connect it to dash and not to menapetz tzemer. True, no melacha excludes what is gedule karka. But if we need to decide niput tzemer gefen, is it more similar to disha or to niput tzemer? We say it is gedule karka. And because we need to choose one of the two, we choose dash. And this brings me to the Minchas Chinuch twice. Musach HaShabbos, Koitzer and Goizes. Strange Yerushalmi, Mem Chesomet Beis. Yerushalmi Mem Chesomet Beis, a fisherman catches fish. And when he takes the fish out of the water, Chayev Mishum, Oikar Davo Megiduloi. Taking a fish out of the water, Chayev Mishum, Oikar Davo Megiduloi. Could we have the Yerushalmi? I think it's Mem Chesomet Beis, if I'm not mistaken. So the Yerushalmi says, Koitzer is not necessarily mechubar lekarka. It's an interesting Yerushalmi. So the Bavli Kuf Tesomet Beis says, Shore Dad Manayam Chayev Mishum Natilas Neshama. Yerushalmi says, Oikar Davo Megiduloi. It's interesting that a Shoinim quote the Yerushalmi, Shoilo Nuno Miyamo. In our Yerushalmi, so the Kavra. So fish in Aramaic have various different terminology, different names. I think in our Yerushalmi, it's Tzad Kavra. I think it's Mem Chesomet Beis. I'll just take a moment. I have a Yerushalmi on the table. So I messed up with the Chidush Aran, but ultimately we found it, Baruch Hashem. Let's have a look where the Yerushalmi is. Yes, it is Chavav Mem Chesomet Beis. Ha'en detzayet Kavra. V'kol davar she'ato mavdiloi mechayusoi chayev mishum koitzer. Interesting. So the Bavli says, Chayev mishum natilas neshama. Why doesn't the Yerushalmi say natilas neshama? So obviously,
What about Sod? I want to know about Sod.
Wow, good question. L'chayre would be chayev 3 chatois. Tzad, natilas neshama, and I don't think that would be a problem. 2 results, 2 different results. The moment he catches the fish, chayev mishum seder. When the fish dies, chayev mishum natilas neshama. Yerushalmi says, chayev mishum koitzer. And why not natilas neshama? So maybe according to the Yerushalmi, it's just a grama of natilas neshama. He didn't kill. It perished because it can breathe air. So anyway, the Minchas Chinuch based on the Yerushalmi, says every geizes is also chayev mishum koitza. If koitza is lav dafke gedulei karka, every geizes will also be chayev koitza. And I say that is impossible. It is one result. One result cannot be chayev shtayim. Tzad and koitza, two different things. Your chayev mishum tzedes dogim, as long as you have your fish on your hook, he's still in the water. He's caught in a net, still in the water, but it's already tzad. Koitzer is when you take him out of the water. Netilas Yishum is when he dies. 3 different stages, 3 different results. But you cannot say every geyser is chayev mishum koitzer. One result, never chayev mishum shtei melachos. And therefore, we always need to say lema doima tfei. So geysers is cutting off anything from balei chayim, wool from a sheep, cutting off your nails, cutting off your hair. That is geysers. Koitzer, according to the Bavli, only gedure karka. Yerushalmi, dagmen ayam. So Minchas Osha, I asked an interesting question. When you throw a man into the sea, is that also koitzer? Let's not talk about murder. You threw an animal into the river and it drowned. Chayev mishum koitzer? Definitely chayev mishum netilas neshama. Would it be koitzer? What is the difference? An animal that lives in water and you bring them up to land, according to Yerushalmi, chayev mishum koitzer, a land animal, and you throw them into water, would that be koitzer? I say no. And now we reach another fundamental yesod that I wrote in Minchas Osha, and I don't think the Achronim really discuss. Sometimes the malach is defined not by the essence, but rather by the form. Taking a fish out of water is somewhat similar to koitzer. Water is like land. That is nature. Cutting a vegetable off land is koitzer. Taking a fish out of the water is koitzer. Throwing a man into the water is not koitzer. It is not lifting. It is not taking out of the ground. Well, if you want to talk about how it looks, throwing a man into the ocean would be more similar to Zareya than to koitzer. But every bardas understands it's neither koitzer nor Zareya. So I want to end today's shir with a very yesodistic havchana, with a fundamental argument. We had 5 different sources. On one act, you could be chayev and 2 melachos. On the condition, 2 results. It is similar to 3 distinct sugyas: krisis, malchus, psochim. One achili, you're chayev chamisha chatois. And why is that? Different avedas. Noisa, chaylev, bishul bosa b'cholav, bishul b'yamtev. Mavasol gidanosha v'achloi. You ate bosa b'cholav, you ate gidanosha. Different shemos, different results. Same regarding Shabbos. 5 sugyas, 1 act, but different results. So chayev shtayim. But on 1 act, on 1 result, you're never chayev shtayim. And that is what Rashi means when Rashi says, menapet tzemer gefen, told the dash because it's gedulei karka. It might as well be told the menapet tzemer, but it can't be both. And therefore we need to decide lema doima tfei. Shole dag menayam could be chayev mishum koitzer. But a geizes cannot be chayev mishum koitzer because he is already chayev mishum geizes. 1 result cannot be 2 melachos. So according to the Yerushalmi, it's amazing. When you catch a fish, you're chayiv and say even though before you take him out of the water. The moment he's captive, he's in the net. You caught the fish, he can't escape. You got the foot, you got a hook in his mouth. Chayiv mishum tzad, even before you take him out of the water. You lift him out of the water, chayiv mishum koitzo. Yovish boy kesela, he could no longer live, chayiv mishum natilas v'shal. 3 stages, actually 3 results. The end result is, yes, I have a dead fish in my hand, but there are 3 different stages. However, 1 act and 1 result, essentially, 1 toitzoa cannot be chayev shtayim. And in those cases, we need to decide, is it more similar to this malacha or more similar to that malacha, and nuances. Dakus, the nuances will determine to which of the 2 malachas how we define this certain act, to which of the 2 malachas does it bear greater similarity. So the shir today was somewhat complex, and we brought many different digmos, but I tried my best to clarify the sugyas. And so the fundamental question we dealt with today is Masa Echad, Chayev Shtayim, when yes, when no. We started off with 3 different sugyas in Shas. Then we touched upon 5 different sources in Shabbos and 2 or 3 different sources in which we find 1 result which could be compared to different malachas. And then Chazal and the Gedoyle HaRishonim need to decide to which of the malachas does it bear greater similarity, and it becomes a tolda of that malacha. Kol Tov, I hope you all enjoy the shir today.
Yashakayich HaRav. Thank you very much.